Welcome back to Adventure 82. So, it's a rather cool, dark evening. Winter's settling in now. So, seemed about the right time to tell you about a story I read. I found it in the Stockton and Darlington Times. It was printed back in 2015, I think it was. I'll put a link to the actual article I found in the description below if you want to read the full article, but I felt it deserved a video. So, without any further ado, again, welcome back to Adventure 82, and this is a story of the night in World War II where Leyburn got bombed. The first person that was spoken to by the article itself was a gentleman called Edward Mason, who recalls a siren going off about 9:45 p.m. and coming out of his house, which was one of these up here in Thornborough Crescent. And his father and himself went out to see where the noise was coming from and what was going on. And not long after coming out, they heard the sound, the unmistakable sound of the Luftwaffe planes that made a very distinctive sound compared to the British planes. They saw a shadow flying over, and then they heard three massive bangs, one after the other. And he speaks about how, had there been a fourth, it would have been right on top of them. So the following morning came, and him and his father went to investigate what the explosions were, and that's when they found out that Leyburn had actually been bombed. So there's no record of this because it was classed as a minor excursion, a minor bombing as far as the records are concerned. So there's no record of it. Most people seem to think it happened around about 1943. But the actual reach of it was far more than just Leyburn. So although everything's been repaired and stuff these days, the actual impact was such that even as far away as Preston under Scar, just the force of the explosions that hit Leyburn blew out windows, which I'll just read you a clip from this actually because it was quite good. So hang on a moment. Here we go. Albert Culver, living in Preston under Scar, alerted by the sound of aircraft, said, "I knew there were German aircraft by the drum throbbing noises of the engines. We went outside but couldn't see anything. There was a horrific noise when we heard an explosion, but I was frightened, as we lived near Preston Quarry, which when it blasted, the whole house shook. Next day, my friend and I cycled over to take a look at the hole. Later in the war, I was in Reeth at a mosquito, when a mosquito crashed and a Dutch pilot died. I was very scared then as well." So there are other people who talk about how their windows were blown out, even as far as like Wensley, and how they had to tape them together. And one lady recalls how the windows, once her dad had finished taping them up, looked similar to like repaired broken Christmas baubles. But we'll talk more about the story back in town. So of course, during the days that followed, the residents of Leyburn then started to assess the damage and repair what was broken, as was the British raid during World War II. They got up, they started again. Even London during the Blitz, those people, they carried on going. The people in Jersey, even occupied, were some of the most resistant people that the Germans ever came across. That said, obviously it's a small town, so people start to talk, they start to reason as to why Leyburn, why was it bombed. Some people theorised that because at that time Leyburn's Wensleydale line had been commandeered by the Ministry of Defence, and maybe it was a strategic thing and they were trying to bomb the railway line. Some people reasoned that it was just a case of the bombers, as was the case after they'd been bombing another part of England, they used to exit the mainland via the east, and they were just dropping off their excess bombs on the way out. And Leyburn just happened to be where they fell, including the old mine, as was mentioned during the gentleman's story that I read out to you. But no one actually really knows, and with no records, you probably really never will truly know what the reasoning was. Just like we can't really look at or say what buildings were damaged, because the records, there aren't any. But what it does show, though, is that even a little town like Leyburn wasn't safe, because even if you weren't a target, you could end up being an inadvertent target, just so they could fly and make it back to where they were going in one piece. Because if it was because the bombs were being dropped just purely to make the plane lighter and to make the fuel go further, then people lost their lives just so the plane could make it back to Germany. And in some ways, that's probably worse than being a target. But you tell me what you think. So, I mean, it's one of those, isn't it? It's like Yorkshire, as well as a lot of other, well, all over the UK, have got men that fought during the Second World War, First World War, like the Cenotaph, where I was just before at the beginning of the video, and you know, even down to like other parts of the UK, down into like the Channel Islands and stuff. They've all got men that never made it home, that are buried somewhere randomly in a country that they'd never been to until the war happened, and they're now buried there forever. But I think it's important to, whether it's classed as a minor bombing or not, that people realise that, purposefully or not, Leyburn did take some of the punches during the Second World War. And the Yorkshire Dales played a strong part, not only World War II, but later on, because after the Cold War, the World War finished, the Cold War then took over, and then you had another disagreement, of which there's been many. And then Leyburn played a part in that too, with its ROC bunker just behind the town, or just on the limits there on the road up to Catterick, as did other parts, because there was an ROC bunker placed in Reeth, one down the road in Bidale, and up North Allerton. So North Yorkshire's played a massive part, the Dales included, in many wars. And the Dales are seen as, these days, a very quiet place where people come and they go and do their walks, and a peaceful place. But it's worth remembering that even peaceful places in time of war can sometimes become the complete opposite, and those stories in the current get lost. Anyway, that's it from me for this Sunday. I know it's a short video, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I felt the story was worth telling. I'll put a link in the description below for you to read the full-length story that the Darlington and Stockton Times put in back in 2015, the year their story was originally printed. But otherwise, from me, at Adventure 82, don't forget to subscribe if you like this. If you like other World War stuff, I've got stuff I've done in Jersey, in old bunkers and things. I will be doing some World War stuff on pillboxes and stuff over here in the future, so hit the subscribe button if you want to see those. I've done some other videos throughout the Yorkshire Dales if you want to see those. Again, do subscribe. There's Buy Me a Coffee if you want to, but you're by no means obligated to do that. And otherwise, have a brilliant week. I'll see you on Wednesday, and take care of yourselves.